Pope Francis, born Jorge Mario Bergoglio on December 17, 1936, in Buenos Aires, Argentina, passed away at the age of 88, leaving behind a profound legacy as one of the most transformative figures in the modern Catholic Church. His life journey, from a working-class upbringing in Argentina to the papacy, was marked by humility, service, and a deep commitment to social justice. Jorge Mario Bergoglio was the eldest of 5 children born to Italian immigrants. His father, Mario José Bergoglio, was a railway worker, and his mother, Regina Maria Savori, was a homemaker deeply rooted in the Catholic faith. Raised in a modest household, Jorge developed a strong sense of family, responsibility, and faith from an early age. His upbringing in a multicultural working-class neighborhood gave him a unique perspective on poverty and human dignity, themes that would become central to his mission as Pope. As a young man, he studied chemistry and briefly worked as a chemical technician before answering a deeper calling. In 1958, he entered the Society of Jesus, the Jesuits, known for their intellectual rigor and missionary work. He was ordained a priest in 1969 and later became the Archbishop of Buenos Aires in 1998. Throughout his rise within the church, Bergoglio remained known for his simple lifestyle, riding the bus, cooking his own meals, and living in a small apartment rather than the bishop's mansion. As Archbishop of Buenos Aires, Bergoglio was deeply involved with the poor and marginalized, often visiting slums and advocating for social programs. He became a cardinal in 2001, appointed by Pope John Paul II. Within the Vatican, he was known for his independence, humility, and concern for social issues, often challenging both political leaders and the ecclesiastical elite. On March 13, 2013, following the resignation of Pope Benedict XVI, Bergoglio was elected the 266th Pope of the Roman Catholic Church. He took the name Francis after Saint Francis of Assisi, a symbol of peace, poverty, and care for creation. He was the first pope from the Americas, the first Jesuit pope, and the first non-European pontiff in over 1,200 years. Pope Francis quickly established himself as a different kind of pope. He shunned traditional papal extravagance, choosing to live in a simple guest house rather than the apostolic palace. His tone was pastoral, inclusive, and compassionate. He emphasized mercy over judgment, famously stating, "Who am I to judge?" when asked about gay priests in 2013. His papacy focused on several key themes. Social justice. Francis was a vocal advocate for the poor, calling inequality the root of social evil. He urged global leaders to address the widening gap between rich and poor. Climate and environment. In 2015, he released Laudato Si', an encyclical on environmental stewardship and climate change, becoming the first pope to make ecological responsibility a central tenet of faith. Church reform. He aimed to decentralize the Vatican's power, combat corruption, and make the church more transparent. He also sought to make the church more welcoming to divorced Catholics, LGBTQ+ individuals, and others often marginalized. Interfaith dialogue. Pope Francis built bridges with other religions, especially Islam and Judaism. He made historic visits to the Middle East, met with imams, rabbis, and even atheist thinkers, promoting peace and understanding. Despite his popularity with many, Francis also faced criticism from conservative factions within the church who viewed some of his reforms as too progressive. Yet he remained steadfast, insisting that the church must be a field hospital for wounded souls, not a fortress for the self-righteous. Pope Francis battled various health issues throughout his papacy, many stemming from his earlier life. At 21, he had part of one lung removed due to a severe respiratory infection. As Pope, he suffered from sciatica, knee problems, and colon surgery in 2021. He often used a wheelchair in his later years, but continued to travel and carry out his duties as much as possible. In the final years of his life, his health became more fragile. He made fewer international trips and delegated more responsibilities to aides and cardinals. Yet, even as his physical strength waned, his voice remained strong on issues like peace in war-torn regions, protection of migrants, and the dangers of consumerism and climate neglect. Francis continued to guide the church through turbulent times, including the COVID-19 pandemic, global political unrest, and growing secularism. He often addressed global audiences with hope, encouraging resilience, compassion, and faith amid crisis. Pope Francis died peacefully in the Vatican on April 20, 2025, surrounded by close aides after several months of declining health. Though his medical condition had worsened in recent weeks, he reportedly remained lucid and prayerful until the very end, offering final blessings and words of gratitude to those around him. His passing was met with widespread mourning. Bells tolled in cathedrals worldwide, and faithful gathered in St. Peter's Square to pay their respects. Leaders from all faiths and nations issued statements of tribute, remembering him as a pope who brought warmth, humility, and a human touch to the papacy. A period of official mourning was declared, and preparations for a conclave to elect his successor began. His funeral mass is expected to draw millions of mourners, both in person and through global broadcasts. Pope Francis leaves behind a church that is more engaged with the modern world, more attuned to the sufferings of the marginalized, and more willing to listen and learn. He did not change doctrine as much as he changed tone, focusing less on rules and more on relationship, less on hierarchy and more on humility. His writings, especially Evangelii Gaudium, Laudato Si, and Fratelli Tutti, will likely influence Catholic thought for generations. His efforts to address the sexual abuse crisis, while not without controversy, also represented a sincere attempt to bring justice and healing to victims. He was a pope of firsts, but more importantly, he was a pope of the people. Pope Francis redefined what it meant to lead the Church in the 21st century, reminding the world that love, mercy, and human dignity are at the heart of the gospel. As the Catholic Church turns a new page, the memory of Pope Francis endures not only in the hearts of Catholics, but among all who were touched by his message of compassion and hope.